Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about what it's like to be an artist in recovery. And uh, sobriety has had. I've gone through some different uh, times during my sobriety with my stages of inspiration and doing actual work. And, I went through a period of time when I was um, actually extremely inspired to paint all of the time, and I would stay up days at a time sometimes and just paint. And as an artist, like that's always something that I love, those runs of creativity. And you know, in most recovery type of atmospheres, they would call that bipolar. But I enjoy those runs of creativity when I just have so much juice and so much just inspiration. I enjoy that. But I've actually backed off a lot of my meds, and I'm taking about half of the amount of medications that I was on in the beginning of my recovery, and I've actually been less and less inspired. So I'm not completely convinced that I am bipolar by any means. As much as I am convinced that I am a creative person, and I go through spurts of being more inspired, and those tend to be times when I am really depressed and down. And I would say, since I've kind of come to a kind of peace with God, or I've had this spiritual awakening, or whatever you want to call it, I have been less and less inspired to put things down onto paper or canvas, or I've had no desire to sculpt, or and nothing like that, because I'm kind of over the whole material aspect of art, and I'm not a performance artist by any means. Uh, I've never really been into performance art. Like there's some interesting things, like uh, the that Joseph, whatever the dude is that had the coyote and whatever. That dude, he like was probably the only performance artist I can think of that I really saw much value in. And not even, he's not he I don't even remember his name at the moment, so that tells you how much I'm interested in this movement of art. So yeah, I've just been more focused on intellectual things, and uh, I, I don't know. I'm more focused on life than I am on mimicking life at the moment. So I've not been quite as inspired to try to somehow capture uh, any type of you know reality or fiction, and I've been more uh, focused on trying to build. And I think that I do think about how I could somehow translate my new understanding of things to my work. I want to be an artist. I want that I've always enjoyed painting, and I've always enjoyed that. But I still, if the next time I do something, I want it to be, um, I want it to convey everything that I would conceptually want it to convey, and I don't want to just do something to do something. I'm not that type of artist. I don't just sit and do still lifes, and I'm not an academic artist. I I do it for fun. It's my thing. I enjoy it. I enjoy looking at famous art, and not so famous art, and just I love art across the board. I love graffiti. Uh, I love uh, uh, Matthew Barney, and I love all kinds of art. Art is all over the board, and it can be all types of different things. I'm not saying that, just because I particularly paint or whatever, that is any kind of indication of like what an artist should or shouldn't be doing. For me, I'm not about to go out and like do a performance. That's not my deal. I don't do that kind of shit. It's a little campy in my opinion, and hate me for that if you hate me for that. But yeah, I think when you when you're sober and you're going through, you might not be as inspired when you're sober. I have not been as inspired to paint and draw and stuff as I was when I was using. But I mean, I would say it's because I don't have all of that turmoil in my life that was inspiring. That I don't have to get get out as much shit anymore. I'm not dealing with as much shit, so I don't have to like throw something onto an. I don't have to throw my insides onto a piece of paper anymore because they're fine where they are, and I think that explains. I think the best of what it's like to be an artist and be sober. If you don't have to if you're not necessarily uncomfortable being within your own head and having to get that shit out of you, then you might not be quite as inspired to make art. But that's still no reason to not get sober. I'm uh, so much happier than I was when I was using or doing my best work. I mean, I'm not even the stuff that I've done now. I'm not particularly proud of. Like, this is probably one of the newest things I've done, and it's kind of a shitty piece. But that's okay because like I'm not doing this for anyone but myself, and I enjoy it. So when I was doing my best work and completely, like obliterated out of my mind, uh, I was a much more unhappy, unbalanced person. And yeah, that's it.